We follow Marcus into what I can only describe as a control room of sorts. There are countless computer screens, some of which are obviously coming back on from having been shut off. Everything looks extremely complicated, from screens filled with code and data to what is obviously a security system. It reminds me of a miniaturized version of the Operations Center in just about every space travel movie I've ever seen. Marcus is running from one screen to another, apparently looking for some pertinent bit of information. Where's the first aid kit? I snap at him. Marcus stops in his tracks, as if he's forgotten the whole reason for bringing us down here. Oh yeah, he says, rushing to the left side of the room. There he hunkers down by an open panel in the wall, what I assume is an emergency vault from where he got his rifle. Peer into the open vault. I peer over Marcus' shoulder into the vault he's opened. It's much larger than it looks from the outside. It's partially filled with file folders marked classified, a few rounds of ammo for the rifle, a peculiar plastic kit filled with syringes, and a locked black box. As Marcus digs around, one of the folders slips open. For the split second it's open, I see a scanned document and a colored photo. The photo shows a male corpse with its guts on the outside of its body, as if it's been turned inside out. There's also massive swelling on his head, almost like his skull is about to explode. Marcus slaps the folder closed, and then I turn my attention to one of the syringes. It's filled with a violet-colored fluid that, while rather pretty in color, looks deadly. Marcus finally pulls out the first aid kit and turns around. When I look back to motion Dennis over, he's paler than ever. Come on, I tell him, but he's not moving from the place on the floor where he sits against the wall. I slide the first aid kit over to him and go scrambling to his side. Between the struggle for the rifle upstairs and arriving in this room, he's fading fast. I struggle to lift his shirt up and then over his shoulders as the dried blood holds it in place, the mere act causing him to grimace. This might hurt a little, I tell Dennis. He only nods. He doesn't seem to care. If I rip it off quickly, any coagulated blood might rip open again, and it might cause him to hurt even more. But if I pull it off gently, I'm pulling it off gently. Here's my thing, I can't, any shock to his body might kill him, or cause him to bleed even worse, and I won't be able to save him. I lift the shirt off gently, and it makes a sucking sound. There's so much blood that the moisture tries to keep the shirt pulled to him. Dennis lets out a little moan, but seems to relax, in spite of his injuries. With the shirt fully removed, the extent of his injuries becomes more clear. His wound is more visible now, although it's partially hidden by the blood that has started to clot around it. My medical knowledge is slim. Basically just a bunch of basics I learned in Boy Scouts. I look over to Marcus hopefully and ask, "You have any training?" "Zero," he says. "Sorry." It's just as well, I guess. He's far too concerned with what's happening on the monitors to be much of help anyway. I start by taking out the several rolls of gauze within the kit and wipe as much blood as I can away from the wound on his side. It's even worse than I had figured from the start. The gash is deep and dark. I'm pretty sure it's infected too. He's going to need stitches, that's for sure. But I have no idea how to even start that. Besides, I don't see the tools for it in the kit. When I splash rubbing alcohol over the wound, he responds with a hoarse yelp of surprise, but nothing more. His eyes are locked on me, and he looks appreciative, but he's also scared. "Be honest," Dennis says hopefully. "How bad's it look? You think I'll live?" I'm gonna be confident. I can't afford to make him scared. "You'll be fine, no problem." "Good to know," he says, "because I sure don't feel like that." "You've been through hell," I say. "I think it feels worse than it actually looks." "Thanks. That's a relief." "I won't lie, you're gonna have a scar," I say, trying to be funny. He chuckles a bit, but there's no humor in it. He rests his head against the wall close to his eyes as I finish up. I place one layer of gauze against the wound and bind it with medical tape. I then reinforce it with a second layer. I know it's meager, but it's all I can do. Thanks, Roger, he says, actually managing to force out a smile. I feel a lot better. I think I'll be fine. I'm not so sure about that, but I'm glad I was able to encourage him. I look back to Marcus and he's looking back up at us, deep in thought. My eye is starting to really swell up from where he kicked me earlier. Maybe I shouldn't have let him off so easy. Are these first aid kits all you have in this facility? I ask him. If there's some better, I don't know about it, he says. I notice then that his defensive posture is no longer there. Something is different now. Just a slight change in his demeanor. He's seen something on those monitors that has him frightened. More than he already was before. What is it? I ask. What's wrong? His eyes travel around the room, and it's obvious that he's trying to decide whether or not to tell me the truth. Get up and look at the I'm just gonna get up and look at the monitors, because there's no point in trying to fight him on this. Rather than wait for him, I get up and scan the screens behind him, seeing if I can find any clues I had missed moments ago. After a few moments, I see a few things that even I can comprehend in the complex information on most of the screens. On one screen I see what looks like a power meter that is slowly climbing forwards. A single message is flashing beneath it. It reads, "Unexpected power failure, forward entity." Another message trickling along the bottom of the black screen says, "Safety locks on, level 3 containment doors engaged, override." I see still scenes on a few other screens that I assume are security cameras showing hallways and passages from elsewhere in the facility. One of them shows the first level hallway we were on just a few moments ago. Another shows a hallway I don't recognize. The floor is covered in blood. From just off the screen, I see what I think might be a human body, but it's bent in an impossible way. It looks like the body's legs and torso have somehow been merged and melted into the floor. What happened to that person there? I have no idea. I didn't see it, he says. Whatever happened to that guy must have happened in the last minute or so. What the hell? I ask. There's something still happening? Are we still in danger? He turns away, clearly fearing he has already said too much. And as bad as that is, there's a scene on another monitor that makes my blood go cold, and my fears spike to levels somewhere near terror. The scene is very familiar. It's the logging site. The equipment is unmistakably mine. I can even see my truck. Something like fury starts to rise up in my guts, momentarily pushing aside the fear. For a moment, I consider just tearing into him, a few punches and a shove against the wall, nothing more. I want answers, and I want them now. But I'm not sure which would provide more answers. Asking calmly, or kicking his ass. I don't think fighting him is gonna get me anything. I think it's gonna cause him to shut down. He's not been amenable to violence previously, so I'm gonna maintain a cool head here. Could you please explain to me why you've been spying on my crew? My anger is prodding at me, and I have to hold it back again. It's near the surface, demanding a release. As part of my job, mine and a few others, your crew has been watched ever since you set up your equipment. Why? Because you're working with heavy equipment, some which digs into the ground, less than a mile from a secret government facility. I had no idea of that, I say. How could I have known? Marcus gives me that same crooked, trembling smile that is beginning to creep me out. Because those things would draw attention to this place, he says. You have no idea how secretive this facility is. Besides, I know that the higher-ups looked into it. Your site isn't on government land. It's shy by about 300 yards. Every piece of your equipment is on private property. A timber track you purchased from Mr. Gladstone 2 months ago. So even if we wanted to intervene and keep your crew away, we couldn't have without stirring up a fuss. The fact that someone with such a low-level clearance knows as much about my logging crew is unnerving. If you've been watching us, why didn't you recognize us when we met in the hallway, I ask. He shakes his head and exhales like it's obvious. The cameras have a bird's eye view. I can't see faces. We just track bodies and names. So since you have all this surveillance, Do you know where the rest of my crew is? I do my best to keep my voice level, even though my impulse is to shout. Well, Marcus says, all of you were on the site as usual before the incident. It had been a few hours since I had checked, though. They might have come near the facility. Or maybe not. I don't know. He says this casually, like it's not important. Well, are they inside the facility, I ask. You have cameras everywhere, right? Do you see them? Marcus shakes his head. I've been looking all over and I haven't seen any of your crew. They aren't here. But, he adds, the lower levels don't have any cameras. Classified. I'm not sure how they would have gotten there. But it's always a possibility. I'm still shocked that we were being watched. Do they know everything about us? I'm telling you, Marcus said. The depth of influence in this facility goes deep. There are 36 employees down here. Outside of those employees, only 5 other people know this place exists. What do all these people do here? I ask, keeping my voice level. He doesn't even pause to consider if he should go any further. He actually laughs when he gives me the answer. I honestly don't know everything. Probably very little. But what I do know is that it is more than Black Ops. What does that mean? I ask. There are scientists here who have been disowned by their own governments because of the nature of their work. You get it now? Not at all. But I don't want him to know that. You said there are 36 employees? I said. You said there are 36 employees, I say. Where are they now? He shakes his head. As far as I know, everyone else is gone. Gone where? He points to the screen that still informs us of the unexpected power failure and cringes. If this power failure was not corrected in time, there's no telling. But they're here in the facility somewhere. Right? I ask, hoping someone will be able to help Dennis get better than I can. I just don't know, Marcus says. They could be anywhere. Look, I say furiously, with the way he's talking. Look, I say, furious with the way he's talking in riddles. I don't. Oh, God, Dennis says. I look over to him, and he's just as pale and he looks as pale as a ghost. He stood up, and his eyes are locked on the monitor closest to him. What? I ask. He simply points to the monitor and then looks away. I look to the monitor, and I see the logging site, but more specifically, I see the overturned dozer and the legs sticking out from under it, wearing work boots, right where I left him. Tony. The fact of his death seems abstract almost, like it happened in some other world or a very long time ago. I know that you already told me he was gone, Dennis whispers, but it's different actually seeing him. My God. Suddenly, something blazes by the open door outside. The shape is fast and in shadow, but I'm pretty sure it's a person. Someone else is here, Marcus says, wheeling around. He sounds very happy to discover this, so I try to follow his lead. If something bad happened to this facility, then surely the sight of another survivor is a good thing, right? We should check it out, he says. I realize this isn't the best moment to leave Dennis after revisiting Tony's death all over again. Someone just ran by the door, I tell him. Hopefully it's someone who can help us. You going to be okay? It's fine. Go see who it is, he says, giving me a mock thumbs up. I turn to Marcus and motion for us to head out to investigate. Let's be careful, Marcus says. Depending on who it is, they might not be as hesitant to shoot a stranger as I was. I nod at him as I head for the door. I'm still holding the rifle in my hand, and I don't know if I have the guts to actually use it if needed. With a final look back at Dennis, I run out into the second level hallway. Marcus follows. There is still fear in his eyes, but also the slightest glimmer of hope. That hope is contagious. We take off after the figure that just ran past the command center. Ahead of us, the facility presents yet another long hallway. Right away, I notice that this level of the facility seems darker, even though the lights are now all on. The hallway is adorned with numbered yellow doorways, large white panels along the walls. It's clean and well maintained, but there's something ominous about it. Up ahead, I see the fleeting motion of something dark, cutting quickly to the left down the corridor. There, I say quietly, pointing up ahead. Marcus gives a nod, and we continue chasing after the person we saw blazed by the command center just moments ago. It then occurs to me that this person could be like Marcus was at first, armed and scared. I'm gonna move slowly. I feel like shouting at them didn't seem to work the last time when I dealt with Marcus, so I'm gonna stick with moving slowly. When I reach the intersection in the hall where I had seen the shadow moving, I ease around the corner just in case. Sure, I have the rifle in my hands, but I don't want to use it unless I have to. I quickly dart around the corner and take the same shooting stance I'd seen countless times on TV. There's a woman standing there, about 10 feet away. She has reddish blonde hair and a small, mousy build. She looks terrified and is visibly shaking. She's probably in her late 30s, wearing a lab coat with dark jeans and green Converse low tops. I have a strange sense that her fear is not just about our sudden appearance. She looks like a woman who's been running scared for a while now. Her hands are raised in surrender. She's not holding a weapon. Marcus slowly approaches, taking a few steps ahead of me. "It's Amy, right?" he asks. She blinks, seeming surprised that he knows her name. "Yes," she says. "And you're Marcus." She nods absently and then looks at my rifle. "I'm not going to use it." "Now, how do I know that?" she asks. "You're trespassing on government property in the midst of a huge catastrophic event, and you have a rifle. How am I supposed to believe you?" I have a friend back in the command center who needs medical attention," I say, "and we're looking for the rest of our crew." "I'm really sorry, but I don't know where they are," she says. Do you know what's happened?" Marcus asks. "From the power outage." "I don't know what caused it," she says, "but there was an experiment taking place when the outage occurred. Something happened and..." She trails off here, giving me a look of distrust. I saw the thing on the security monitors," Marcus says. "The experiment failed, didn't it?" "I don't know the specifics," Amy says. "I barely escaped the third floor. I was going to go to the command center to see if the security footage showed anything, but then I saw you and the gun." Listening to their conversation, I'm feeling totally in the dark. "What has you so scared?" Amy looks to me, her eyes wide and terrified. "Who are you, anyway?" she asks. I quickly give her my story. A logger stranded in the woods, following a peculiar explosion at the logging site. As I tell her, recognition blooms in her eyes. "You're one of the loggers?" "Yes." She then looks at Marcus and says, "I thought they were being watched." "They were," Marcus says. "This was a freak accident, and there's no proof that they were responsible." I feel myself wanting to submit to all their questions, to all the questions that are piling up in my head, but Dennis is waiting for me. Ask about medical help for Dennis. That's the priority right now. I decide that despite my curiosity, I need to get Dennis help as soon as humanly possible. "Look, is there any medical help to be had here or not?" I ask. "Probably," Amy says. "But you have to find Colonel Barksdale. He knows where all of those sorts of supplies are." "And where is he? Where is everyone else?" I ask. At this, Amy starts to weep. She falls to her knees as if someone has struck her from behind. "Gone," she says. "Some were killed, and some were just... I don't know. They disappeared right in front of me." "Disappeared?" "Yes," she answers. "They were here one second and gone the next, just..." She snaps her fingers together for effect. "Gone. Something's here with us," Amy says. "We were conducting an experiment, and it all went horribly wrong. Something came through. Came through what?" Marcus asks. I don't even know that much. An entity? But whatever it is, it's still here somewhere, Amy responds. How could you not know? Don't you have full security access? I ask. No, I have access to almost everything, but there are 2 levels of security beyond my clearance. So what do you suggest we do now? I ask. I'm not sure, she says, wiping her tears away. But if you want to find your crew, we need to find Barksdale. He's in charge. Where is he? I ask. Down on the 3rd level, in the hangar. Then let's go, I say. It's not that easy, Amy says, again looking to the rifle in my hands. Why not? Like I said, something came through when the power went out. There's several of them, all roaming the 3rd level. What came through? All I know is that the others refer to them as entities. Amy shudders as she recalls the horrors she has seen. I don't even know how to describe them. I didn't get a good look, she says. All I did was run for my life. Behind me, I just heard screams. I know it's not very scientific of me, but I didn't feel like sticking around to learn more. She's right, Marcus says, stopping my train of thought. The things I saw on the monitors, it was crazy. This is insane, I bark. I'm going to the 3rd level to find this Barksdale guy. Thanks for your help. Wait, Marcus says. I'm sticking with you. If we want to get out of here, we have to find Barksdale, right? Yes, Amy says. But Barksdale's on the 3rd floor, and it's too dangerous to go back there. I figure I'll let them make their own decisions. In the meantime, I start heading back to the command center to get Dennis. Before I get there, I hear their footfalls behind me, getting closer. I give Amy a questioning look, and she quickly looks away, clearly torn. Neither one of you know your way around here, she says. Looking for Barksdale on your own would be suicide. Like it or not, she has a point. Fine, I say. Then let's get Dennis from the command center and head down there together. We enter the command center, and I'm happy to see that Dennis has regained some of his color. We're going to get you some help, I tell him, and then we're going to find our crew and get the hell out of here. More help would be great, he says. With the way you took an hour to get my shirt off earlier, I'm not letting you touch me again. Wait, Amy says. Maybe one of us should stay here with him. I'll be okay, Dennis says. He stands to his feet with a grunt. You don't know what's out there, Amy says. I saw them. I saw what they can do. This facility is not safe. Are there any of them on this floor? I'm not sure, she says. But they're down on the 3rd floor, so we'll need to be careful. Marcus looks a little hesitant, but nods his agreement, and the 4 of us exit the command center. Heading back down into the hallway, I look back at the monitors. I take a final look at the screen that shows my wrecked logging site and feel a pang of sorrow. Then I look to the other monitors, showing live feeds of the facility's security cameras. I try to tell myself that I'm not looking for any sign of Amy's creatures, but I can't. That's exactly what I'm doing, and there's no need to pretend otherwise. We head back through the hall and towards the elevator. The tension exists between us is like a physical presence. We step inside the elevator, and those pristine doors close. Inside the elevator, Amy seems to become much more guarded and distant from us. I want to assure her that I mean her no harm, but I'm also not going to put the rifle down. So you have a pretty high clearance in this place, right? I ask her. That's right. So what kind of experiments are we talking about? What went wrong? When she starts to answer my question, I can tell that it is something of a relief for her to get some of it off her chest. There's been a lot of work on a project taking place here over the last 3 years or so. The purpose is to find out if there's any real viable science behind point-to-point instantiation. Like teleporting? I ask. Oh my god, Marcus says. I had no idea. I knew there was some weird stuff here, but nothing this insane. It's really not all that insane, Amy says. We found our first major breakthrough about 9 months ago. We were able to transport a live rat from its cage on level 3 to a small lab in New Mexico. The trip took the rat 5 seconds. You kidding me? Dennis says. I can tell that he wants to sound as if he's mocking the idea, but he fails. He's scared. Not at all, Amy says. The problem was that when the rat arrived, its retinas were detached and its intestines were on the outside of its body. Did you ever perfect it? Well, about 6 months ago, we successfully made that same experiment. The rat arrived in great health, and this time, in just 3 seconds. Still, one of the things that we needed to tweak in order to make the process completely safe was how to figure out how to keep the subject on a straight course. When the matter is being transported, not only are its atoms being unknit and then put back together, when the matter is being transported, not only are its atoms being unknit and then put back together upon arrival, unknit. Yes, deconstructed and translated through space. It's the only way we know how to do it right now. But the issue, as I said, comes in keeping the deconstructed subject on a straight course to its destination. When the process occurs, we are deforming space-time. We're creating a shortcut through space. And that has risks. Why, exactly? Dennis asks. Because there are many more dimensions in space than the 3 that we exist on, she explains. There's some evidence that there are as many as 10. So when you send the rat to New Mexico, it's traveling through another dimension to get there, I ask. Basically. And because of that, we were trying to get a better understanding of what those other dimensions are capable of. Things that a great deal of the population would be scared of if they knew what we were doing, hence all the privacy. Then today the power went out, and we were right in the middle of an experiment. Something happened. What? I don't know. She's speaking with the authority of someone who knows what she's talking about. What have you seen in these dimensions? Other worlds? Other trademark universes? Where our laws of nature don't apply? Other worlds? Other trademark universes where our laws of nature don't apply? She says, not bothering to explain what that means. I'm not cleared for such things, but I do get the reports. What reports? Marcus asks. I'm given access to the results of the tests. In other words, Marcus replies, clearly upset, you guys have been peeking into other dimensions and taking notes on what you see. I can't believe I've wasted my life for this, he murmurs to himself, looking like he's starting to freak out. Amy's quiet. Her expression indicates that she's waiting to see how I react to all this. That's incredible. So this is like interdimensional stuff, I ask. In a way, Amy answers. Marcus, on the other hand, is incredulous. I don't want anything to do with this, he says. All this time, I've been working for... He laughs cruelly, and the sound of it makes my blood go cold for a moment. Just a single level beneath my feet. You assholes have been tearing apart space and time, Marcus continues. When the elevator doors open, I can't get out fast enough. Tension is growing way too thick for my liking. Outside the elevator, we step out into what appears to be a massive industrial area. The carnage waiting for us is unlike anything I'd seen on the upper levels. Oh. The area looks industrial, like everything was built for utility only. But more noticeable than that is all the blood. My God, I've never seen so much blood. Those creatures must have had a field day. Holy shit, Marcus says, looking like a man that just woke from a very bad dream. There were more there were more personnel in this area when the experiment went. There were more personnel in this area when the experiment went haywire, Amy says, as if the explanation makes it all better. The research you all do down here had better be worth it, I say. We have to get moving, or we're going to lose our nerve. Amy, let's focus. Barksdale is in the hangar, I ask. If he's still alive, yes. That's where he'll be. Then let's hurry, I say. As far as I can tell, Dennis is doing much better, but I'm beginning to grow tired of trying to keep my fear at bay. Between the blood on the floor, the sounds in level 3, and Amy's talk of lab rats, I'm getting freaked out. I have the only weapon, so it'd be woefully irresponsible of me to hold the one form of defense, but then require somebody else to go ahead of me. I'll go first, stay behind me. The four of us start walking ahead, with me in the lead. We stop walking when we come to the remains of what looks like 3 different people. It's hard to tell with how many bodies there were because they have been torn to shreds and are distorted. 2 of the bodies look as if they have been fused together. Another man looks to have had his leg welded to through the floor. I can see this man's face. He died in an abject state of horror, his mouth pried open in an eternal scream. Investigate the bodies. I see half a face pushed down into the floor like putty, barely attached to a separated skull. A single dead eye stares at me. I think I might puke. Behind me, Marcus does just that. As I listen to him heaving, my eyes cannot leave the carnage. There's blood everywhere, a crimson pool flooding the floor. There are hunks of skin and tissue splattered on the wall, and a strand of unspooled intestine that clings to the floor like a dead snake. Dennis steps up beside me, and when he speaks, his voice is soft and flat. The hell could do that to someone? He asks. The things I saw? Amy answers. They could do it pretty easily, I think. She looks pale, and I think that she may pass out at any moment. Tears spill from her eyes, and she is visibly shaking. But she soldiers on, looking back to me and stepping to the side of the gruesome carnage. Her eyes again go to my rifle, and she doesn't look very hopeful. You good to go? She asks me. We need to move on, but for some reason I can't take my eyes off the scene. My mind is reeling, trying to process it all. I really want to go, but at the same time, any information that might help me avoid these things is crucial. I've never seen so much blood before. What's even more sickening than the mayhem is the unnatural look of it. I'm familiar with blood spatter. I've hit a deer at 60 miles per hour on the interstate with a load of logs hooked behind me. But many of the bodies have somehow been gently pushed into the wall, through the floor, halfway inside a desk. Dead. No explosive power, just squeezed and pressed like clay, their faces contorted into screams, trying to comprehend what was happening to them. Still, I managed to steady my nerves. I take a few deep breaths, and I'm finally able to continue onward. I leave the grisly sight behind, moving into another equally destroyed area. From what I can tell, the next room was once an open area for experimentation. The place hasn't just been destroyed, it's been physically altered in a way that makes no sense. The girders look like they've been warped. Their very materials distorted and twisted. To my right, a machine has been catapulted, and looks to have somehow merged with the wall rather than crashing into it. Beyond these phenomena, there is the standard violence I was expecting to see. There's a limp arm sticking out from underneath the wreckage, and more blood. I see no signs of an explosion, which makes me wonder how this happened. Seeing the aftermath is sickening enough, but it makes me wonder if Amy saw it all while it was happening. Did you see what happened to those girders? I only caught a glimpse of it, she says. It was like trying to focus your eye on something that was too close. They just started twisting, but not creaking or breaking. It's like the creatures are able to deform matter. She pauses here, and that's when we hear something echo through the facility. It comes from behind us, and slightly to the right. I'm not sure what it is, but it makes my blood feel like ice. It sounds almost like static from an AM radio, but there's a high-pitched noise beneath it that I can't even start to fathom. The hell is that? I ask, intently clapping my hands to my ears. One of them, she says, her voice a whisper. One of the creatures. That's what they sound like? Dennis asks. I see that he's leaning against the wall again, wincing at the noise. I suddenly realize I have a death grip on the rifle, ready to shoot the next thing I see. Anything between us and them? Not really, she says. None of the hallways are blocked off by secure doors. Everyone seems to take this as the cue to start moving again. We make our way around the office wreckage, now with new purpose in our step. We barely make it to the other side of the room, approaching the dark hallway, where another high-pitched noise sounds out. This one louder. Closer. We all share a terrified look, and I can tell that Amy's on the verge of losing it. I grip the rifle tightly as we head towards the hallway in front of us. How much further to the hangar? Close, she says. It's just at the end of this hallway. Dennis speaks up, his voice like ice. Why don't we just haul ass then, huh? No one says anything after that, but I can feel a presence of terror around us, pressing in on us like some violent gravity. The small utility hallway is well lit. It looks as if it was designed to only be used by select maintenance workers. What goes on in this area, I ask. I'm looking at Mark as I ask the question, but he only shrugs in response. She might know, he replies, pointing to Amy. I've never been down here before. It's just a utility hallway, Amy says, but at the end there's a maintenance room. There should be a gun or two in there. It's also the most direct path to the hangar entrance. As we walk quickly and quietly down the hall, I take a glimpse ahead and feel the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. The lights become more sparsely spaced, and it's impossible to see just how far the hall extends into the darkness. The hallway has the occasional trace of bloodshed, but nothing like the main area we've come from. We continue farther down, and just as I begin to see what looks like a large metal door further ahead, I hear yet another shrill sound. This one sounds farther away, but no less demonic. How many of these things did you see? Dennis asks Amy. 3, but that's just what I saw. There could be more. What do they look like? Dennis asks. Yeah, what are we dealing with? I don't even know how to explain them, she says. Monsters? That's the only word I can think of. My mind seemed to struggle just trying to understand what I was seeing. They're big and they seem to jerk around every few feet or so. They look like they're made of light. That's about all I know for sure. You know, my ex-husband always said I'd let my work kill me, she continues, seemingly unable to stop herself. I mean, I doubt he imagined this exact scenario, but still. As we make our way to the hangar doors, another high-pitched noise rings out, angrier now. Amy stops walking, causing all of us to stop and turn to her. We have to do something to slow those things down, she says. No, Marcus snaps. There's no time. We need to distance ourselves and get to the hangar fast. Amy ignores him in thought. There's an old hydraulic door set into the wall right here, she says. It hasn't been used in years, though. She looks to me, pleading her case. Together, we might be able to pull it close behind us to keep those things back. Those old hydraulic doors weigh a ton, Marcus says. There's no way it'll work. Roger, Amy says. What do you think? They'll have a harder time getting to us if those doors are locked. Look, Marcus shouts, turning to me. We need to get to the hangar now. Let's stop and close those doors first. These things can phase through matter and kill people instantaneously. Any extra seconds those doors will buy, I'll take. Damn it, Marcus says. We don't have time for this. Amy ignores him and starts feeling along the wall, the hallway wall for the groove. Dennis and I start looking as well. A minute passes, and I see a small metal frame that runs from the floor to the ceiling. Is that it? I ask. Yes, Amy says. I look to the floor and see an old metal track that runs along the frame. Let's move it. Let's move it, I say. Amy, Dennis, and I start pulling as hard as we can, but it barely budges an inch. Behind us, that static noise rings out again. My heart seems to stutter, and Marcus lets out a little whine. We're running out of time. We need to go, Marcus screams. Those things are getting closer every second. Help us, Marcus. It won't make a difference, he says. Shut up and help us, and then we'll find out, I shout. Reluctantly, Marcus walks over and grasps the door. We all groan as we strain to pull. It starts inching slowly and then begins moving steadily. Once we get it started, it slides easily. As we near the wall, close enough to the hallway behind us, I think I can see the merest glimpse of an odd illuminated shape in the darkness. It's cut off by the slight thump of the hydraulic door being pushed against the frame in the opposite wall. Amy turns to lock into place. Great. Now let's haul ass, says Marcus. We all turn and get moving again, still feeling unsure about our prospects. The fact that yet another shrill noise sounds out elsewhere in the facility is not calming. And then there are two of them. It's almost like they're calling out to one another. The doors to the hangar sit up ahead like an entrance to some enormous labyrinth. When we reach the hangar doors, I get a true sense of how impenetrable they are. A computer terminal is mounted on the wall nearby. It has a blinking red light. Any idea what this means? I ask. It's an automatic lock, a failsafe from the lockdown, says Amy. I've never been down here before, Marcus says. If I had known this door was here, I would have opened it earlier. How? Amy asks. The fear in her voice is more pressing than ever. From the command center, he says. You need an override from there first, then use this terminal to open the hangar doors. The command center on the second floor? I ask. Yeah. Amy shakes her head and lets out a nervous laugh. Are you kidding me? We just pulled the hydraulic door. We just pulled that hydraulic door and blocked off the hallway, remember? If you want to if you want to get into that hangar, we have to go back to the... If we want to get into that hangar, we have to get back to the command center, Marcus says. Isn't there some other way? Turning to Marcus, Amy replies, well, there is another elevator, but we'll need to go through the biochem storage. I need to stay with Dennis so he can rest, I say. You two go. You know your way around this place, and you know the controls, Marcus. Fine, Marcus says. But we'll need to be armed. Alright, Marcus, fuck you. I'm gonna give Amy the gun. I hand Amy the rifle and she turns to go. Marcus gives me a concerned look, but follows along behind her. Once Amy and Marcus make it a good distance down the hallway, Dennis lets out a nervous laugh. And then there were two, he says. Dennis looks much better, but he still needs to use the wall to stay standing. Didn't Amy say that there were guns and emergency kits in the maintenance room near the hangar doors? I ask. Yeah, I think so, Dennis says, looking exhausted. I look ahead and see a door to the right that reads, maintenance. Might as well give it a try. I go to the door, try to open it, and find that it's locked. I'm gonna push at my shoulder. I give it a hard shove, but it doesn't budge. I'm about to try again, but that's when I hear a gunshot from just down the hallway. My first thought is that Amy and Marcus must have come upon one of those things, one of the monsters. But I don't hear any of that strange static sound I've come to associate with them. Alarm bells go off in my head, and before I know it, I'm heading down the hall, away from the hangar doors. Stay here! I'll be right back, I whisper over my shoulder to Dennis. See if you can figure out how to get into that maintenance room. Where are you going? He asks. I don't bother answering. I don't bother answering him as I bound through the door where Amy and Marcus went. As I enter the biochem room and start walking between the massive silos, I wonder what classified chemicals could be inside them. I'm fully expecting one of Amy's creatures to come flying out from the intersection of halls up ahead. I think I overhear a voice, a woman's voice. It's Amy. Stop! Let go! The gun! I run ahead so fast that I almost trip over two people in a life or death struggle. My mind tries to process what I'm seeing, but it makes no sense. None at all. Marcus is wrestling with Amy, trying to take her gun away. When this doesn't work, he throws her to the ground and starts choking her. Her face is turning purple, and her eyes look like they might pop out of her head. Marcus sees me coming out of the hallway, but acts as if what he's doing is perfectly normal. I'm gonna stop him immediately. I start rushing to him before I really know what I'm doing. I bring my fist down in a hard arc across the bridge of his nose, and I'm rewarded with a sick cracking sound. He cries out and falls to the ground, looking at me as if he doesn't understand why I'm punching him. On the floor, Amy clutches at her neck and gasps for breath. I start to fear that I was a moment too late, just as I see the rifle has been thrown across the floor. Marcus seems to notice this at the exact same moment that I do. I can't waste bullets. I'm not even going to try going for the rifle. I'm just going to hit him. I deliver a surprisingly strong blow with my right hand, clipping his chip from an awkward position. I'm in the process of planting my knee in his chest to hold him down when his left foot comes out of nowhere, landing hard. The kick catches me squarely in my ribs, knocking the breath out of me. "What the hell are you doing?" he yells at me. "By killing her, I'm saving us. All of this is her fault." I sense that he truly believes this. But if that's the case, then why not just attack her when we were all together? The answer is simple. We might have stopped him. He wanted to kill her in private. And then what? Would he have done the same to Dennis and me? It seems fitting, really. When we first came across Marcus, he'd held his gun on us. I'd been so relieved to see another human being that I'd underestimated just how unhinged he was. Marcus and I both dive for the rifle, still laying on the floor, and start wrestling for possession. I'm not confident I'll come away with it. As we struggle, he starts inching the muzzle of the gun towards my face, a position I do not want to be in, and start pushing back hard. If this thing accidentally fires, I'm not sure where I'd prefer the bullet to go, especially in this room full of chemical tanks. Force the muzzle towards Marcus. I grunt as I push the muzzle to point towards his face. Realizing he is literally looking down the barrel of a gun, Marcus ducks his head out of the way. This makes him lose leverage, allowing me to yank the gun from his grip. I get to my feet as quickly as I can, swinging the rifle back around on him. For a moment, I think I've knocked him out, but his eyes flutter and he looks at me as if I've betrayed him. "Her people," he says. "It was them that did this. She deserves to die. She did this." I look to Amy and wish I could help her. I'm relieved to see that she's managing to draw in a few breaths. Her legs move as she tries to push herself into a sitting position. "You wouldn't know," Marcus says. "You didn't work here under their secrecy. You don't know what it's like to..." He surprises me by lunging towards me, leaping from the floor like a human projectile. I don't have time to aim carefully, but I have to act fast. I really don't want to waste bullets because we have a limited supply, so I'm just going to dodge. His aim is poor and his strength is failing, so I dodge him easily. I don't want to have a gunshot go off and alert those creatures to where we are. Making a hard jab with the butt of the rifle, striking him in the chest. I make a hard jab with the butt of the rifle, striking him hard in his chest. Something crunches and he lets out a whoosh of air. He crumbles for a moment and then goes to his knees. He roars in pain on the floor. Only after a few moments, I realize that they are not purely screams of pain. The bastard is calling for them, calling for those creatures to come for us. This place is evil. along with everyone involved. He wails from the floor. If you're taking her side, then you deserve to die too. If you want to stop me, you better do it now, you coward. The rage in his eyes at Amy, as well as towards me for stopping him, makes me think that he'll deliver on his threat. I raise the rifle again, every urge in my body wanting to make sure he doesn't come back to bite us. But I'm not a violent man. I could easily not kill him and just leave him behind. Those things will kill him if I don't. I don't know how many there are, and I don't know how many bullets I have. I can't afford to alert them any more than he has, so I'm leaving him. Just like when I could barely shoot earlier, as he was coming at me, I can't bring myself to deliver a killing shot. I ignore him and lean down to Amy. You okay, I ask? She nods slowly. Have to go, she says, her voice raspy. I'll be here any minute. Too much noise. I have to hold her arm so she can get to her feet. We start forward, then I think of Dennis. We should get back to the hangar doors, I say. I can't just leave Dennis there. It's no time, Amy says. We need to come up. You need to come with me up to the command center. Now. We'll be back for him soon. You're all dead now anyway, Marcus shrieks. If they don't get you, I will. He laughs maniacally after saying this, hooting like a madman. As if in response, a high-pitched noise tears through the hallway. I seem to feel it in my bones. They're following his noise now, Amy says, her voice still weak. She takes off away from Marcus, presumably towards the elevator she had mentioned moments ago. I follow her. As we move out, I hear Marcus slowly push himself off the ground and stumble off, slipping in between the tanks and disappearing. We start running after the first few strides. Another noise sounds out. It sounds mechanical, but at the same time, it also reminds me of recordings I've heard of whale songs. A sound of metallic creaking and crashing echoes through the door I came in through. They've reached the hydraulic door we pulled, Amy says, confirming what I'm thinking. The sound grows louder as it's clear they're struggling with it, which is good. We have a bit more time. I speed up my step to follow Amy as she leads the way to the other elevator. She's panting furiously, but pushes on. I can hear something rattling in her breath, likely the result of Marcus's attack. This makes me imagine how his cold, uncaring eyes must have looked, staring down at her as he tried to deliver her death. How she's still forging on is beyond me. I'm sorry about Marcus, I say. It's not your fault, she interrupts. At least you handed me the gun. I just hope we can find a way to survive this mess. We'll be fine. Don't worry. I'm not so sure, she says, her eyes fixed straight ahead. I'm not sure I can blame her. I just wanted to say something encouraging, I guess. We finally come to the elevator at the end of the row of silos. The elevator doors slide open slowly. At that moment, we hear something behind us. A strangled sort of whistling sound. We step inside and turn around to face the biochem room. Thankful we've been given a few moments to spare. The elevator doors remain open for 3 seconds before they start to slide closed again. In those 3 seconds, I see a large shape floating towards us. A phosphorescent-like white glow outlines an impossible shape. Behind it, I see another shape that's also entered the biochem room. And another. The third one breaks away from the other two, taking a quick right. It moves with eerie speed. That is the direction that Marcus has gone. Honestly, the thought of them hunting him down doesn't bother me in the slightest. Amy is pressing the button to close the elevator doors over and over, but they stay open for what seems like an eternity. I curse whoever designed these damn doors. I'm gonna hide inside of the elevator. Amy and I slat ourselves up against the sides of the elevator, trying to avoid being seen. But I can't help peeking around the corner. I held my rifle steady, ready to fire, and that's when I see them in the clear light for the first time. I can see their features, their shape, and their colors, but my mind can't quite process it all. Nothing about them makes any sense. My eyes try to see a squid, but that's not what these things are. They're gray and white, and they seem to be nothing more than squirming light. Their appendages are neither legs nor tentacles, but somewhere in between. They don't walk on these appendages, but use them to glide. They move like ghosts and seem to jerk every few feet or so. But I'm pretty sure that this jerking effect is not a result of their moving, but my mind's inability to understand how they are moving exactly. It's also more than their appendages, than their appearance, that makes a mockery of reality. The light around them seems to bend inward, as if the space between the room has to reshape itself for their existence. A peculiar effect in the air makes their movements seem like something's moving underwater, only faster. They screech in unison as they rush towards the elevator. They'll be inside here in another few seconds. I check the rifle to see that my ammo is diminishing. I have to start saving my shots. I'm going to have to be choosy. Ah, crap. I'm still gonna save my ammo. It's just not worth it to shoot these things just yet. If it gets really close, I'll fire point blank, but I can't afford to waste ammo. They keep advancing. Even though I know the doors may not close in time, I manage to keep my cool and avoid firing off any more rounds. My finger itches to pull the trigger, but I resist. I'm not even sure if the gun would affect them. Finally, the elevator door closes. The creatures wash against the other side of the door, making an electrical noise and crying out in anger. The tips of their spider-like appendages poke through the wall at the elevator door. For some reason, they can't get all the way through. Amy screams at this and curls into a ball in fear in the corner of the elevator, crying. I say nothing to her. I just cling to the rifle, hoping these creatures don't find Dennis as he waits by the hangar doors where I left him. For his sake and ours, we need to get them open now. End of Chapter 3. Okay, let's see how we did. The blunt truth. You and 59% of players told Dennis he'd probably be fine. Slow them down. You and 35% of players sided with Amy on pulling the hydraulic door. Who to trust? You and 69% of players gave the gun to Amy. Murder or mercy? You and 58% of players left Marcus alive. Now or later? You and 68% of players conserved your bullets for later instead of shooting the creatures. So, not gonna lie, I feel like I did a decent job of explaining why I did all of these when I actually made the choices. Just to give you a quick rundown, I just felt like I didn't want to scare Dennis any more than he already was because I already panicked. The slowing them down thing actually made sense because, I mean, they can warp metal, but every time that we've seen someone get warped or we've seen the aftermath of a warping, it's always been described as they have to slowly push through matter to warp and distort it. So I assumed that they couldn't just Danny Phantom their way through. For who to trust, Marcus has never been on my good side and has always been a kind of unknown entity, and I'm kind of glad I didn't trust him because he's kind of unhinged. I didn't want to kill him, though, for murder and mercy, because obviously conserving ammo, and I didn't want to alert those creatures to my presence, and just because there are plenty of things down here that can kill him without me needing to intervene. I don't have to kill him, but I certainly don't have to, keep him alive. And then for now or later, my entire thing has been because we have emphasized how few bullets we have. I cannot take the risk of taking shots this early when I don't know if I can get a resupply, and I don't even know if my bullets can kill these things. So if they only slow them down, I might as well have as many as I can for one final stand, rather than wasting them all now and hoping for the best. So we shall continue with Chapter 4 in the next episode. So without further ado, roll the outro. Hey, congratulations, you made it to the end. Why don't you leave a like or a comment in the comment section below while you're at it? or subscribe and join the Cub Collective today. That being said, I want to thank you all for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Goodbye for now.